Ideal Protein is a doctor-designed, coach-led ketogenic weight loss protocol that uses food as medicine to empower you to lose weight and live your healthiest life.
And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and we are on the new format. As we mentioned to you guys last month, we were going to be trying something new starting in July. We're going to separate Mr. David Gray and Rob into their own sort of separate shows. We're just going to be talking to Rob about sports. We're going to be talking to David here about lifestyle and news, and I'm going to let him take a second to introduce himself. Go for it.
Hey, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
So today we are talking only news and lifestyle. As we sort of move forward, we're going to give this a shot. Just trying something a little new, a little different, give these guys each individually a spotlight. Probably turns it more into a conversation as opposed to ask a question, get a simple answer. So first and foremost, David and I did want to let folks know if you are running for office this fall of 2022, it's open season for political announcements. You can submit them to him. So best place to get them to you?
David at lpn1898.com. And in case you couldn't understand the LPN, that stands for Livingston Parish News. That is my work email address. And yeah, you can send those political announcements to that email address or call me. You call the office and they'll have the best way to reach out to me to send all of your political announcements. We'll take a headshot. We'll take a press release of less than 400 words to get that in there, because I know, we have the November election. Qualifying for that is July 20th through 22nd. So I know we'll be having some candidates who are wanting to get their names out there. So that is your chance to do so.
Yes, and just as an FYI for those candidates, or if you listen to this and you know a candidate, the first one is free for your announcement. It's up to 400 words, and we take a headshot with it. And that would be a picture headshot.
Yes.
For those of you who are curious. So, again, he gave you the email. If you want to reverse, it is david at lpn1898.com. And, of course, up to 400 words, we take a headshot with it. And, of course, the first run is free. So, please get those to us as we come up on the fall election season. And you mentioned qualifying, correct?
Yes, correct. July 20th through 22nd.
All right. So those are always a wild 3 days. Tons of fun. Anyway, moving into the show in general, first and foremost, it is official. We've talked about it before, that the Bass Pro bonds for that tax incremental financing plan had been paid off 16 years early, but now it's official. Paperwork has been signed. So this will be the first fiscal year wherein several entities who sacrificed part of their sales tax collection from that location are going to start collecting that, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and that was during the most recent meeting of the Denham Springs Economic District. They voted to allow Bass Pro to take acquisition of the property. That property has been managed by the Denham Springs Economic Development District since the 2008, I believe, whenever Bass Pro opened. And in the contract, in the agreement, it made a way for Bass Pro to be able to acquire title to the land should they, meet certain benchmarks. And like you said, they met them 16 years ahead of schedule, and it was kind of a bittersweet moment. Councilman Robert Poole called it. He's the chair of the development district, and it was formed for that development district was formed for Bass Pro, and now to see that its mission, I guess, come to fruition, that now Bass Pro will acquire it and the district will no longer be in charge of it. I mean, it was kind of a lot of handshaking, applause, congratulations going around. Former Mayor Jimmy Durbin was there. He spoke, and he was really the one of the big proponents for it. I mean, I read a story that you wrote a few years ago, and then previous stories from when it wasn't seen as such a slam dunk as it in hindsight has been. I mean, there was a good bit of debate going on between whether or not the government entity should agree to give certain portions of their sales tax revenue to a private business or to acquire a private business. And so it wasn't really seen as such a slam dunk as it is now. But like we said, 16 years ahead of schedule, it has been paid off. So it just kind of showed the gamble is worth taking, a $50 million gamble being worth it.
Yeah, and it is important to note that one of the earlier arguments, and I mean, it was a debate. It turns out this side of the argument was the one that was correct. But zero of zero is zero,
Yes.
and there was nothing there. There were a lot of people that said, well, you could put, there were a lot of suggestions. But Bass Pro kind of changed the landscape here in a lot of different ways economically. If you talk to the local Livingston Economic Development, I mean, that was a huge dunk for them. I mean, they were able to attract a lot of new large scale industrial businesses because Bass Pro came here and had so much success. I know the chamber has been able to acquire some, Jubin Crossing kind of piggybacked on the idea.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of change here since that happened. Kind of an interesting deal. But as of now, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's when you say yes, zero, they could have gotten 0 or 100% of zero, which is nothing. Uh, Councilman Robert Poole described the land to me in an interview once as a pond adjacent to the interstate on wooded property. That is all it was back then. And now, I mean, when you drive on I-12 and you're passing the Denham exit, I mean, you look to your right if you're going toward Hammond. I mean, that whole it's its own economic engine now. You have all those different restaurants and businesses there. I mean, 24, I think, businesses there. I mean, all of that is because of Bass Pro and the city, or excuse me, the different government entities, deciding that it was a gamble worth taking, and they were proven right. Not saying that every time they are, but this time they definitely were.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to see that sort of come together. And of course, it looks like some of those plots that are a little farther down Bass Pro Boulevard are moving. They've been sold. Potential for businesses down there. I know initially it was supposed to be hotels. I believe the flood kind of pushed that off. So be keeping an eye on that space, and we're going to be keeping an eye on next year's budgets as presented by, let's see, Denham, the school board, the sheriff, Gravity One. Who am I missing?
Oh God, I have it in here somewhere. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but you got the most of them. Fire department.
That's right. Fire Protection 5.
Yes. God, I can't remember them all, but yeah, you got most of them.
Right. They all sacrificed half of their penny that would have come from that development. So they're going to be getting, I think I ran the numbers when I wrote that story a few years back. Each one of them is going to be getting an extra $500,000 to $1 million a year.
Yeah.
That is not unsubstantial.
That's what, Councilman Poole said whenever they found out that the bonds would be paid off, when that was back in October when they were paid off, he said that Denham would be getting close to $1 million per year extra in its budget, which, like you said, that's, that can do a lot, especially for, small local government entities. That can do a lot.
Sure. So, well, that was a lot. That was 7 minutes of Bass Pro, but it is a big deal. It's been a big deal for Livingston Parish, and Bass Pro, elected to accept the contract, took over the building, and they're going to stay. There were rumors that they were thinking about leaving. I'm not really sure why. But it didn't happen. So good for that. Moving on, let's talk about a couple of DOTD projects. Obviously, you covered the Cook Road extension several weeks ago. That's supposedly up for finishing in about 2 years. But Forest Lat is open.
Yes.
So let's start there.
Yes, that is finally open. That was closed in January. They're redoing the road. They had to close it to install a new bridge over Grays Creek, and that was supposed to finish, I believe, in April. Then it got pushed back to May, then pushed back some to June. So yeah, it was. You had a lot of people who were pretty upset. They would see that sign on Pete's Highway that the date kept getting pushed back further and further. So you had a lot of people understandably upset, but that has since reopened. That reopened, I believe it was the very end of June 30th, I believe, or yes, like the last week of June it reopened. So that is finally reopened to the public, and like I said, it's a 1.7 mile stretch that they're repairing of Forest Lat Road. That's a major. That's one of the major connections between Pete's Highway and Jubin Road and Denham Springs around the Denham Walker border. So yeah, now I know a lot of people are happy that their commute is now significantly easier, that they can use that road that they used to always use.
Yeah, So that's a big deal. Also, but unfortunately, thankfully, this one's at night only. But we do have another closing. If folks might remember, I think it was roughly a year ago, maybe a year and a half. Someone was towing a backhoe down 4-H Club Road and smacked into the interstate. And,
Yeah.
And while they did determine at the time that it was structurally sound enough, for a while, DOTD has now started the repair on the overpass, the I-12 overpass that goes over Pete's Highway. So not Pete's Highway, excuse
4-H
me,
Club
4-H
Road.
Club
Yep.
Road. So give us a little bit of info about that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we did a story on that one is because the signs that were placed out there, DOTD, whenever they do these projects, when they're going to have road closures, they have to, alert the public to it. And so they usually put signs up that say when a few weeks in advance, when the road will be closed, start date and end date. Well, they forgot to add in when they said that the road would be closed in July and August, they forgot to add the word nightly. So you had a lot of people who were, going crazy thinking that 4-H Club Road, which is a major road in Denham, was going to be closed, be closed totally from July to August. I know the mayor received a bunch of phone calls because he was the one who called me about it one day, saying if I could write a story saying that it's a nightly closure, and I confirmed that with the DOTD rep. It is just a nightly closure from, I believe, July 7th through August 18th, I believe. So about 6 weeks. And yeah, they're going to just be replacing, fixing the overpass, and that will actually coincide with the closure of the right lane of the interstate of I-12 eastbound, right above the overpass. So that will be closed at night as well. But like I said, traffic will be open during the day. And you're right, it was from when a truck tried passing underneath. I guess didn't realize how short or how low the overpass was above 4-H Club Road, because
it was a big excavator and it had that arm.
Yeah,
it was sticking up, and he just misjudged it and went right into the interstate.
So yeah, but we have detours listed on our website, and if you go to www.livingstonparishnews.com, if you want to avoid that traffic those closures, excuse me, and if you live in the area, you will be fine. You will be able to get to your homes, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's just closed to through traffic. You'll have to go around if you're trying to get to the other side of 4-H Club Road. But those closures are from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily, and that's also weather permitting. So, but yeah, so just a lot of people were kind of losing their minds a little bit, understandably, because they thought the road was going to be closed the whole time. But no, just nightly closures.
Gotcha. So let's. What else you got for us?
Well, we had the 4th of July this past week, and I was able to go to a couple of community 4th of July celebrations. I went to Springfield last Friday night, and the next day I went to LaShin Brewing Company. They had they started last year, LaShin. They started a hot dog eating contest between cops, Denham Springs cops and firefighters. So that's a fun draw. Just trying to get some 4th of July photos. That's the feature in the lifestyle section this week. We just decided to do a photo page because who doesn't love photos, especially patriotic photos. So we had that in there. Springfield, they do a good community event out there. They have a kids parade to start, and they have a bunch of contests, and they close the night with fireworks, all held at the fire station. So yeah, just community draws. The last few years has been kind of difficult to have those, just with COVID and all that. But it's showing that things are getting back to normal. I know Walker and Livingston also had theirs this past weekend. So a bunch of 4th of July celebrations and a bunch of photos.
Well, plenty of fun to be had.
Yes.
and like you mentioned, thankfully had some rain, but not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of one thing I was, thinking about, because before we've had this stretch of what it seems like 2 weeks every day it's been raining. Before that, it was very dry
and very hot.
Yes, and I know that was something that was floated around, the possibility of a burn ban or something, because with it being that dry, I mean, it could, lighting, shooting off fireworks is not the smartest thing to do. But like I said, the last 2 weeks have been incredibly moist.
Yeah.
we've had rain, it seems like, every single day for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So that made it a little safer to be able to shoot off those fireworks. I know in years past they have done these firework bans, for the holiday because it's just too humid for it. So luckily not this year.
Yeah. So glad you were able to get out there and cover that. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap this up here?
I know that the Livingston Parish School Board, they elected 3 new principals at their recent school board meeting. Jill Dupuy will be the principal at Springfield High School. Amy Cheney will be the principal at Freshwater Elementary, and Bridget Castile would be the principal at Denham Springs Elementary. So congratulations to those women. They were recognized at the last school board meeting. They were voted on by the school board, and so yeah, there's 3 new principals, and yeah, we're getting ready for school to be starting in right at a month now. I think school starts August 7th, and it is July 7th, so right at a month, kids will be back in school.
Yeah, it's amazing. It feels like they just got out. And yeah, I just remembered something last, but certainly not least. We do have a recommendation for the new police chief in Denham Springs. As Shannon Womack is retiring. And I believe they will be discussing and voting on that next week.
No. At their July, I think it's the July 25th meeting.
So the second meeting of this month.
Yeah, the second meeting of this month, correct. That was just Rodney Walker. Sergeant Rodney Walker was Mayor Joel Landry's choice for that. Mr. Walker has served in law enforcement for 25 years, and most of those have been spent in Denham Springs. He grew up in Walker. He was actually born in North Louisiana, but then his family moved to Livingston Parish. So, like I said, he grew up in Walker, graduated from Walker High, then moved back to, I believe, Bossier, the Ringgold Police Department. That's where he got his start in law enforcement, and then moved back to Livingston Parish and has been with the DSPD for the last 21 years. He is currently over the investigative division. And so, yeah, that was Mr. Landry's choice, and next month he'll be able to meet with council members and discuss, I guess his future for the department, and then they will vote on that during the July 25th meeting, which is also the last day for current chief Shannon Womack. That would be his last day before he retires. We did a story on that a couple months ago, I guess it was, whenever he said that he was retiring. So yeah, that's going to be coming up. Later this month we'll have a story on that.
Sounds good. Well, anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up here?
No, I think we got plenty in this week. It's a little considering that it's the dead time of the year. We got in a good bit just now. So yeah. I mean, I guess Bass Pro took up 7 minutes, but yeah, this is the dead time. I had no meetings this week, which is a rarity. I don't know when's the last time that's happened when I didn't have a single council or board meeting, but we'll be right back to schedule next week. So
yeah, as you mentioned, Monday through Thursday, you have a meeting every night.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about over the next couple weeks for sure, and then we'll get back into a normal schedule. And then once school starts, then yeah, it's busy again.
Yeah, and we will not have a sports cast this week because there really isn't anything going on. They're kind of taking a couple of weeks off, as Rob mentioned last week. And Rob, believe it or not, folks, is finally moving back into his house after Hurricane Ida. It has been a journey for his family, but we're happy for him. So he's off this week, trying to take care of that. So he will be back in the booth with us. We'll be doing an individual one with him and another individual one with David. And, of course, with Rob, we'll probably be talking about football because school, 4 weeks away, football will be kicking off here pretty soon. So, Mr. Gray, if you'll introduce yourself, please.
This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys out there for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. This is, we're going to have to come up with a new name.
Yeah.
This can't be.
Around Livingston. That was the name.
That's right. You and I are going to be, okay, so David and I are going to be around Livingston. We'll have all sports podcasts have some crazy, clever name, so Rob and I will think something up. But anyway, this is Around Livingston. It's where I get to sit down with Mr. David Gray. And we are on, man, I'm going to have to get used to this new introduction here. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We appreciate you guys joining us, and we will see you next time.